What if the burger on your plate was hiding more than just extra calories? In May of 2025, a sweeping review by FoodWatch USA revealed that over 60% of fast food burgers sampled across the country contained at least one ingredient linked to cancer, kidney damage, or hormone disruption. And yet these same burgers are still being served without warning. How did we end up trusting billion-dollar brands more than our own instincts? How many meals have you eaten thinking it was a quick fix, not a slow trap? And now, Elon Musk, a man not known for mincing words, has stepped in, calling out 6 major fast food burgers that he says Americans should never touch again. He's not alone. Health experts and watchdog groups are sounding the alarm, and the deeper you look, the worse it gets. Is your favorite burger feeding your hunger or feeding you lies? This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. And today we're revealing the 6 fast food burgers you should never eat again, no matter how hungry you are. Number 1, McDonald's. If America had a stomach, McDonald's would probably be its comfort food of choice. For decades, it's been the go-to pit stop on the way to work, the treat for children, and the unofficial kitchen for those running on fumes and low funds. A place where ketchup tastes like childhood, fries feel like familiarity, and the burgers, well, they were supposed to be all American. But what happens when the symbol of trust turns into the face of betrayal? In February of 2024, a cold wind blew through the Golden Arches, and it wasn't just from the drive-thru window. News broke that McDonald's was under a multi-state investigation, not for a broken milkshake machine, but for allegedly mislabeling its beef. The meat that was being served as 100% fresh, never frozen U.S. beef was in reality mixed with frozen imports from Brazil and Argentina. Imports from slaughterhouses flagged for animal abuse, banned antibiotics, and acid-washed cuts not even fit for a backyard cookout. Let that sink in. You thought you were biting into American beef, but what you got was a chemical-soaked international mystery meat, shrink-wrapped in patriotism. And while the commercials showed smiling farmers and pasture-raised cows, behind closed boardroom doors, McDonald's execs were ignoring warnings from their own quality control teams. Leaked emails revealed in April showed decision-makers brushing aside concerns to keep the profits flowing. They didn't just cut corners, they erased the entire square. But the real heartbreak? It wasn't just about what was in the meat, it was about who was handling it. A bombshell report from May 2024 uncovered that one of McDonald's key suppliers in Nebraska had over 60 undocumented teenagers working dangerous night shifts, scrubbing blood off metal and freezing meat lockers. Some were as young as 14, so while the Happy Meals kept coming, the hands behind them weren't so happy. They were cold, exploited, and invisible. It's not just one bad batch. It's a system that feeds off secrecy, squeezes every penny from the process, and gambles with your health like it's just another line on the earnings report. And who gets played? Folks on fixed incomes trying to make their dollars stretch. Grandparents trusting in a brand that once felt like a piece of home. Kids eating burgers that were cooked on the backs of other kids. But the real kicker? You don't have to swallow this. Next time you crave a burger, steer away from the yellow arches and drive toward a local grill or diner. Ask where their meat comes from, or swing by a co-op or farmer's market and talk to someone who actually knows their cows by name. Stores like Publix Greenwise, Aldi's Never Any, or Costco's Kirkland Organic have clearer sourcing and cleaner practices. And if you're cooking at home, you've got the power. Pick up lean chuck, bind it with oats, throw in some garlic, and make your own sauce without the corn syrup jungle. You'll eat better, feel safer, and maybe even save enough to take the grandkids out. Somewhere that doesn't hide the truth behind a smile. Because when the burger lies, it's not your appetite that suffers, it's your trust. Number 2. Burger King. Ever notice how Burger King signs always seem to glow a little brighter the later it gets? Like a neon promise calling you in from the cold, offering comfort through a drive-thru window. To someone with tired legs, an aching back, and a tight wallet, that crown looked like a blessing. 2 burgers for $5, a mailbox stuffed with coupons, and that catchy promise, have it your way. But here's the twist. While you thought you were making the call, turns out the real control was in their hands all along, and what they served was anything but comforting. What they didn't put on the menu was the chemical cocktail baked right into their buns. In December of 2023, researchers at the Center for Environmental Health, alongside George Washington University, unwrapped something much darker than paper packaging. They tested fast food burger buns from across America, and Burger King's Whopper bun wasn't just disappointing, it was downright dangerous. Lab results revealed levels of phthalates, chemicals used in plastics, that don't belong anywhere near your dinner plate. DHP and DINP showed up in concentrations over 22 parts per billion. These are substances banned from baby toys, yet somehow made it into the sandwich your grandson is biting into on the way home from school. No sticker, no disclaimer, just a silent delivery of hormone disruption and long-term damage, all for $4.99 plus tax. And if that doesn't shake you, try this. In January 2024, a class action lawsuit dropped a truth bomb on Burger King's plant-based pride and joy, the Impossible Whopper. Marketed as vegan-friendly and ethical, turns out it was being grilled right next to beef patties, soaking up the juices and fat of the very animals it was supposed to avoid. It's like ordering a vegetarian dish and finding bacon cooked into the pan, but worse because they knew. Internal documents showed executives were fully aware of the contamination, but they still pushed the ads and cashed the checks. By the time February rolled around, you'd think the firestorm would be over. But then came the most cynical twist of all. A media investigation by Eat Real America found that Burger King's ad dollars were overwhelmingly targeted at low-income neighborhoods, the very communities most vulnerable to diet-related disease. Zip codes with higher rates of obesity and diabetes, especially those near schools, housing projects, and public health clinics, were bombarded with ads pushing Whoppers loaded with sodium and fat. These weren't just bad decisions, they were calculated plays. The kind of strategy that treats struggling families not as customers, but as easy targets. So where does that leave you? Smiling at a paper crown while they quietly torch your trust? No one said you had to keep eating lies with your ketchup. Small-town burger joints and mom-and-pop diners still exist, and some of them care more about meat quality than marketing tricks. Ask where the beef comes from. Go with places that actually have an answer. If you're cooking at home, consider Aldi's Never Any ground beef. It passed residue-free testing in early 2024. Target's Good and Gather line now includes origin labeling, so you're not buying mystery meat. And for buns, Dave's Killer Bread and Ezekiel scored clean in independent chemical testing. Even a secondhand electric grill or stovetop pan can bring that seared flavor home. No hidden hormones, no shady slogans. Add a real tomato, some sautéed mushrooms, maybe even a homemade pickle, and suddenly you've got a burger that doesn't come with a side of betrayal. They may still say, "Have it your way," but you don't need their permission to take control of your plate. Number 3. Wendy's. Wendy's never needed a goofy costume or royal crown to earn your trust. Just a red-headed girl in pigtails and the promise of something simple. Their square patties felt like a wink to authenticity, a small rebellion against the fast food sameness. Fresh, never frozen. Real potatoes, not powdered mush. You could almost hear Mom humming in the kitchen while you unwrapped your burger in the car. It wasn't just food, it was comfort, dressed up in nostalgia and wrapped in wax paper. But while the branding leaned into backyard charm, the reality was brewing something far less wholesome behind that red apron. The cracks started to show in October 2023, when the U.S. Public Interest Research Group released a supply chain audit that raised red flags about Wendy's beef. While other chains, even McDonald's, had begun disclosing how antibiotics were used in their meat supply, Wendy's stayed quiet. Too quiet. The PIRG report called them out directly, noting they hadn't even met the industry's bare minimum for transparency. Worse yet, Wendy's made no effort to move away from using medically important antibiotics. The very drugs hospitals rely on when your body's fighting for its life. Why does that matter? Because when antibiotics are overused in cattle, they stop working for people. And when they stop working, something as simple as a scraped knee or a sinus infection can turn deadly. The CDC estimates over 35,000 Americans die every year from antibiotic-resistant infections. Every time you bite into beef raised on these drugs, you're taking part in a system that slowly disarms modern medicine, one burger at a time. But if that feels like too big of a picture, zoom in. Just 2 months later, in December, a watchdog group called Sentinel Food Watch revealed troubling practices at Wendy's locations across several states. Undercover video showed employees using pre-cooked burger patties left sitting in trays with no heat, sometimes for hours. In Ohio, one employee served dried-out meat that had been sitting in a cold tray because, as a manager admitted on tape, throwing it out costs money. Somewhere between cutting corners and saving cents, food safety got pushed to the back of the freezer. And it's not just what's going into your food, it's what the people behind the counter are being put through. In early 2024, labor complaints from Wendy's workers in Georgia told a bleak story. Mandatory double shifts without overtime, Nordstit, managers threatening reduced hours if sales goals weren't hit, retaliation for reporting burns and cuts on the job. According to Restaurant Workers United, Wendy's scored near the bottom when workers were asked how safe or fair their workplaces felt. So when a company leans into old-fashioned values but hides modern-day exploitation under that folksy image, it begs the question, is the food really fresh or just the branding? You don't have to keep unwrapping someone else's illusion. You've got better choices, and they're closer than you think. Shake Shack, for example, revamped its beef sourcing in 2024, cutting out antibiotics completely and even displaying farm sources on every store's menu. If that's too rich for your wallet, Culver's in the Midwest and Farmer Boys on the West Coast have started offering grass-fed beef as standard, without making you pay a premium. For those who'd rather grill at home, Walmart's market-side grass-fed ground beef came up clean in multiple food audits and still rings in under $5 a pound. Pair that with Nature's Own brioche buns, toss it on a skillet with a little butter, and you've got a burger that respects your health, your wallet, and your common sense. Add some lettuce and tomato from a nearby farmer's stand, or pluck it from your backyard garden if you're lucky enough to have one, and now you're cooking with real freedom. No corporate mascots, no mystery meat, no hidden cost. Just a plate that tells the truth for once. Number 4. Jack in the Box. Some brands never recover from disaster. Others just learn how to repackage it. After a devastating E. coli outbreak in the early 1990s that claimed the lives of 4 children and left hundreds hospitalized, Jack in the Box promised to change. They put on a new face, literally, with their now iconic mascot, a ping-pong-headed man in a suit with a smirk and a punchline. Out came the Sourdough Jack, the ultimate cheeseburger, the Munchie Meals. For those tired of cartoon kings and corporate clowns, Jack offered something quirkier, a fast food rebel with a wink. But what happens when the rebel forgets why he changed in the first place? In November 2023, a troubling pattern emerged across 3 states, California, Arizona, and Texas. The Food Safety Legal Group, an organization representing victims of foodborne illness, issued a public alert after receiving multiple complaints tied to Jack in the Box burgers. The symptoms were chillingly familiar: vomiting, diarrhea, and in one case, hospitalization from the same deadly strain of E. coli that nearly destroyed the company 3 decades ago. The CDC stopped short of calling it a full outbreak, but local health departments weren't waiting. By January, 2 locations in San Diego County were slapped with fines for serving meat that sat well below the minimum safe temperature, a breeding ground for bacteria and a direct violation of every promise Jack once made. But this isn't just a bacteria problem, it's a values problem. A separate investigation published in January 2024 by the Fair Labor Investigation Bureau revealed something even more disturbing behind the counter. Multiple franchise locations were accused of telling employees to flip it longer if the meat smelled off, a euphemism for don't toss spoiled food, just cook the stench out of it. Managers reportedly urged workers to ignore expiration dates, treat old patties like new, and prioritize optics over safety. One former store manager in Phoenix put it bluntly, "We were trained to make expired food look fresh." That's it. It doesn't stop there. Marketing tactics were just as shady. Jack in the Box's flashy Munchie Meal campaign in early 2024, which featured over 2,000 calories in one box, was called out for targeting stoned young adults and cash-strapped night owls. Everything from the neon packaging to the meal names borrowed from cannabis culture, all while stuffing customers with salt, grease, and nearly a full day's worth of fat in a single sitting. It was less a meal than a health time. Bomb wrapped in sarcasm. If a brand that nearly lost everything to a deadly mistake is once again cutting corners, looking the other way, and laughing through the risk, what's really changed? The good news is you're not stuck in this mess. There's a way out. Habit Burger Grill, for instance, has made fresh, made-to-order burgers its entire identity. In Texas, Whataburger stepped up in late 2023 with transparency reports showing exactly where their beef comes from and how it's handled. These aren't just trend chasers. They're trying to fix what others keep breaking, and if you'd rather cut fast food out entirely, there's no shortage of smarter swaps. All these grass-fed beef patties tested clean and cost less than $5 a pack. Trader Joe's organic patties are frozen, yes, but minimally processed and fully traceable. Not into handling meat? Brands like Hillary's and Dr. Prager's offer clean-label, plant-based patties without soy sludge or chemical fillers. Want to go one step further? Get yourself a simple meat thermometer. $10 could be all that stands between a safe dinner and a trip to the ER. The kind of insurance Jack in the Box once promised you'd never need again. When a restaurant with a deadly past chooses to gamble with it all over again, it's not just your burger that's on the line. It's your trust, your health, and maybe even your future. And no mascot is funny enough to distract from that. Number 5. Carl's Jr. Not every burger comes with a punchline. Some come with a punch to the gut, literally. While other fast food giants wrap themselves in humor or nostalgia, Carl's Jr. and Hardee's took a different route. Their message was clear: big burgers, big flavor, and big appetite appeal. Grease wasn't a problem. It was a badge of honor, with commercials that looked like action movies and sandwiches stacked taller than a soda cup. These chains marketed indulgence with the subtlety of a freight train. For folks finishing 10-hour shifts or wrangling a paycheck that barely stretched, those hefty burgers felt like a reward, a rebellion against skimpy salads and diet food talk. But indulgence, unchecked, can turn into a trap, especially when the cost is hidden where you can't see it. In late 2023, the Clean Label Project ran a sweeping study on over 30 fast food and frozen burger patties. What they found in Carl's Jr. and Hardee's offerings raised serious red flags. High levels of glyphosate, the same chemical used in Roundup weed killer. The patties weren't just slightly contaminated. They clocked in at over 200 parts per billion, a level researchers at UC Davis have linked to gut inflammation, hormone disruption, and heightened cancer risk over time. It's not just about what's on your plate anymore. It's about what's lurking inside it. The company's response? A generic statement blaming industry-wide agricultural realities. Translation: the cattle feed, loaded with corn and soy, is soaked in glyphosate and nobody's doing much to stop it. That burger may be flame-grilled, but it's been through a chemical storm long before it hits the bun, and that's just the stuff officially listed on the label. In early 2024, a civil suit filed in Missouri accused a Carl's Jr. franchisee of blending expired frozen meat with fresh batches to keep up with weekend demand. A former kitchen manager testified under oath that this was routine, not a one-off. He described a process where expired patties were relabeled, mixed in with newer ones, and sent straight to the grill. Corporate headquarters distanced themselves, calling it a local issue, but the damage wasn't local. It was on every tray, every bite, every assumption of safety. Even their healthier options weren't all they claimed to be. In January, the Center for Science and the Public Interest flagged the low-carb thick burger for misleading health claims. Marketed as a smarter pick for older adults and diabetics, it still packed 17 grams of saturated fat and over 1,000 milligrams of sodium. It wasn't a burger. It was a cholesterol grenade dressed in lettuce. Nutrition watchdogs were so alarmed they asked the FTC to investigate, a request still under review as of March. All the while, Carl's Jr. continued to boast about pioneering flavor. But what they've really pioneered might be something else: how to bury danger under layers of cheese and marketing gloss. Thankfully, there's a better way to eat well. Worse water, without rolling the dice on health. Check out Elevation Burger, a smaller chain gaining traction nationwide for doing things right. Organic, grass-fed beef, olive oil frying, and full ingredient transparency. If you're near a Be Good or Mendocino Farms, they've built loyal followings among seniors and health-conscious eaters by focusing on farm-fresh sourcing and real recipes, not food theater. At home, take back your burger night. Applegate's organic, grass-fed patties are now available at stores like Sprouts, Whole Foods, and even Walmart. Toss one in a hot cast iron skillet with avocado oil. Add caramelized onions or roasted mushrooms, and you've got a gourmet-level burger. No weed killer, no guesswork, no corporate spin. You don't need sizzling ads or grease-drenched glory to feel full. What you need is food that keeps its promise and keeps you safe. Number 6. Sonic Drive-In. Nostalgia has a way of softening the edges. Sonic Drive-In played that note perfectly. Roller skating car hops, retro speakers, and burgers served with a wink straight from the 1950s. It wasn't just a meal, it was a time machine, especially for older Americans who grew up when burgers were hot. Service was personal, and no one rushed you to finish. Sonic sold more than food. It sold familiarity, a roadside jukebox with onion rings. It was the fast food version of comfort TV, low-budget charm, high-fructose memories. But what happens when that warm memory masks a cold, unsettling truth? In December of 2023, Consumer Health Alliance pulled back the curtain, and the picture wasn't pretty. Their undercover team posed as part-time employees across several Sonic locations in the Midwest, and what they found felt more like a bad sitcom than a restaurant operation. In one Kansas branch, raw burger patties were stored next to open tubs of milkshake syrup and thawing tater tots. If that sounds gross, it's because it is. Cross-contamination wasn't just possible, it was practically built into the layout, and when asked about it, management didn't blink. As long as it cooks through, it's fine, one supervisor said. No, it's not fine. That's not food safety. That's food roulette. Meanwhile, local health departments in Oklahoma and Arkansas were dealing with their own Sonic messes. Multiple franchises were hit with fines for refrigeration failures, meat sitting in the danger zone between 40 and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Bacteria's favorite hangout. Internal records leaked on attorney Bill Marler's blog revealed these problems weren't new. Inspectors had flagged them months earlier, but nothing changed until public complaints piled up. By then, hundreds of burgers had already been served. But Sonic's problems weren't confined to faulty fridges and sloppy storage. In January 2024, a former area manager stepped forward with a report that should have rattled corporate HQ. New hires were tossed behind grills with little more than a name tag and a pat on the back. No one explained proper temps, food allergies, or when to switch gloves. The whistleblower said. The motto was, press, flip, serve. That might work for flipping records, not raw meat. And then came the lab tests. Foodwatch USA ran independent analyses on Sonic's burger patties and found elevated levels of sodium phosphate, an additive known to stress the kidneys, and caramel color, type 4, which has been linked to trace amounts of 4-MeI, a potential carcinogen. These weren't noted on menus. You couldn't opt out even if you wanted to. You were eating them without knowing. A silent side dish no one ordered. Now consider this. Many of Sonic's most heavily promoted burger deals are timed suspiciously close to Social Security payout weeks. Calorie-heavy sandwiches with over 1,500 calories and salt content rivaling a party-sized chip bag, all pushed on late-night ads and value combo banners. The goal? Keep the drive-in crowded and the fryer full, no matter the health fallout. But no amount of retro charm is worth rolling the dice on your health. You don't have to sacrifice flavor to get safety. Freddy's Frozen Custard and Steak Burgers, for example, quietly rolled out a sourcing policy in late 2023. That discloses every step of their beef supply chain. Their safety scores? Consistently among the top in the industry. Or stay in and try Sprouts Farmers Market's Burger Kit. Grass-fed beef, toppings, and buns for under $10. Swap the bun for California lavash flatbread, and you've got flavor without the sodium ambush. Craving that Sonic drive-in vibe? No one's stopping you from making it your own. Pull into your driveway, turn up the platters or the four tops, and cook your own burger on a cast iron skillet. You get the same warmth, just without the hidden hazards. Some memories are worth preserving. Others, better off left behind the speaker box. If the truth shocked you today, imagine what else they're hiding. Subscribe now, or your plate deserves the full story.
Thank you for watching today's video all the way through. If you found the content helpful, don't forget to click like and subscribe to stay updated to our latest daily videos. Now feel free to check out other feature videos currently shown on your screen. Goodbye, and see you in the next video.